Divisional round is already upon us. Let me quickly go over my power rankings for the division round, and then we're going to jump into my picks for the final 8 teams in this year's NFL season. Number 1 are the Philadelphia Eagles heading into this divisional round. They had the bye. Jalen Hurts is now healthy, which is the big thing for me. They're the most balanced team in the NFL with the number 2 defense, so that's why they're number 1 right now. Just needed to see Jalen Hurts get healthy. Number 2 are the Chiefs. 14-3, they had a bye, but with a couple of AFC teams not showing up too great in the wildcard round, the Chiefs bump up to number 2. And when you have Patrick Mahomes, you're obviously going to be favorites. And number 3 are the San Francisco 49ers. Dominated the Seahawks in their wildcard game, 41-23. They're down 17-16 at the half to the Seahawks, but their defense made a couple of turnovers. In the second half, Brock Purdy, 4 touchdowns for the rookie quarterback. Really impressive, and they roll. Very dominant team, their number 1 defense. But again, Purdy is still a seventh-round quarterback. Number 4 are the Bengals at 14-3. They beat the Ravens. 24-17, found a way to win. Sam Hubbard had roughly a 99-yard touchdown on a fumble recovery on a quarterback sneak at the goal line by Tyler Huntley, and Joe Burrow got sacked 4 times, but the defense made that game-winning play and got him done. But kind of a scare there for the Bengals, weren't looking too sharp. But with Joe Burrow, I mean, you're still going to be near the top here in my rankings. And number 5 are the Cowboys. What a game they played, you know. They're ahead of the Bills because the Bills just... we'll talk about them. They didn't show up too great, but the Cowboys, they just played lights out offensively and defensively. I mean, this is the Dallas Cowboys team that they're capable of being. I mean, that's the talent they have on this roster. It was just a matter of getting it there, and they showed up. The defense, special teams is an issue. Brett Maher for missed extra points, but they dominated the Bucks, 31-14. Dak had the best game of his entire career, 5 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 300 yards passing, and you know. They just look great. And if they play this way, I don't think anybody's beating the Cowboys, but that's the thing. I don't think they're always going to play like this. So right now they're number 5. 6 is Buffalo because they squeaked by the Dolphins 34-31. Josh Allen turned the ball over 3 times, and they blew a 17-point lead, but they found a way to get it done against a 3rd-string quarterback in Skylar Thompson for the Dolphins. Bills are at home, so I mean... wasn't really feeling them in that game, which is why they took a drop here. Number 7 are the Giants. They played really well offensively. They beat the Vikings 31-24. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, really impressive. Defense made some plays. They found a way to beat the fraud Vikings. They're looking solid. They're hanging in there at number 7. Number 8, they're Jags. They made one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history, down 27-0, where Trevor Lawrence threw 4 picks. He came back to 4 touchdowns. The Chargers choked, and that was that. And the Chargers won, and the Jags won 31-30. They're a great team, but really, honestly, if you're going to be honest here, the Chargers should have just finished that game. I think it was more of a blown job by the Chargers than it was by the Jags because they didn't even force a turnover in this game. I mean, hats off to them. What a comeback that was. And now it's time for my picks. We have 8 teams remaining, the final 8 in this NFL season. We're going to be starting off with those Jaguars, the number 4 Jags, taking on the number 1 Chiefs in the first divisional round game. It's going to be 3:30 on NBC tomorrow. On Saturday, Trevor Lawrence has not lost a game in his professional career on a Saturday. This game is going to be tomorrow on Saturday, and Trevor Lawrence, he could not have the same performance he did versus the Chargers with 4 picks. The Chiefs are not the Chargers. They're not going to blow that kind of lead. He has to play better in the first half and, be more consistent, because on the other end, you have the greatest quarterback we've seen over the past 5 years, and that's Patrick Mahomes, a magician. He's delivered in the playoffs. He's 8-3 in the playoffs to the Super Bowl MVP, 2 AFC champs, 2 Super Bowls, 28 touchdowns, 7 picks in the playoffs with 66% completion. I mean, that's just incredible. I really expect Mahomes to dice up this Jags defense that gave up 27 points in the first half Chargers. So if you're the Jags defensively, they somehow have to get pressure on Mahomes or Josh Allen. Those guys on the interior have to get there. And then they have to hold up on the back end. I just don't think they can do both. I think Chris Jones for the Chiefs, he's going to wreak havoc. He needs to do that to get to Lawrence. George Karlaftis, the rookie, that was a good pick at defensive end for the Chiefs. If they can just rattle Lawrence a little bit, you have Arrowhead Stadium, that crowd, this kind of stage. Lawrence hasn't been in this kind of stage yet, so if they rattle him a bit, I think the Chiefs should run away with it. But here I'm going with the Chiefs 35-27 over the Jags. I think the Chiefs put up a good offensive performance. First playoff game without Tyreek Hill for Patrick Mahomes, but Mahomes is looking like an MVP at this point. His defense is average. Running game is, average. His receivers are average. But guess what? The Chiefs are playing great. And that's only reason why is because of Mahomes. And I think they're going to get out to a lead. Chiefs don't blow that lead. Jaguars get a couple late touchdowns, but doesn't matter. I think Chiefs roll in this one. Next up, we got a really good one. Bills versus Bengals. This game is going to happen now. It's going to be in the division round. Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow. And it's such an interesting one because Allen, had 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 picks and a fumble, which was returned for a touchdown. That's not what you want to see from Josh Allen. He's turning the ball over a little too much. Not a great game versus Miami. And, he faces a resilient defense in the Bengals, especially, during the playoffs. He'll force a couple of turnovers versus the Ravens. And I think this Bengals defense, they may be a tough matchup for Josh Allen and the Bills, who has to really stop turning this ball over. And Joe Burrow has been great, but his offensive line is not. And the pressure is really getting to him. 4 sacks versus the Ravens. He needs to get the ball out quick. I trust Joe Burrow, Joe Cool, to get this done. Get the ball out quick to his talented receivers, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. He had 209 yards, 2 touchdowns versus the Ravens. And game where he was really harassed in the pocket, but just found a way. And then his defense made the play. They got that interception. And a fumble recovery against Tyler Huntley that went 98 yards back the other way. So the Bengals, they just make plays in the playoffs, and they're just tough. And I think they're going to have to force a couple of turnovers if they're really going to beat the Bills here. On the other hand, the Bills defense, they need to step up. They need to get some pressure on Joe Burrow. The Bills pass rush has been kind of an issue. You don't have Von Miller anymore. Greg Grosso, Shaq Lawson, Ed Oliver, they're going to have to get to Joe Burrow at some point, because if Joe Burrow has time, he's going to dice up that Bills secondary. So this one is a very close one, but I am taking the Bengals here in the upset, escaping with a win by 2 over the Bills. I think they do just enough on the road. Tough offense, tough defense for the Bengals that have proven themselves, especially last year. Both teams are coming off underwhelming performances, but I think Joe Burrow is going to have just enough time to find his weapons, and that Bengals defense may force a turnover here in this game. And to be honest, Joe Burrow, he's just playing better. And then we have an NFC East rivalry. We have 3 teams in the NFC East making it to the divisional round, which is really impressive. Divisional rivalry on Saturday night in Philly. It's going to be a fun game. Nobody really expected this between the Giants and the Eagles, but for the 3rd time they're going to be playing each other. They just played each other week 18 and week 14. The Eagles won both games. In week 18 they won 22-16. Week 14 they won 48-22. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a decent game, but the Giants they're just a tough team. Saquon Barkley is going to have to find a way to get some yardage. It's a 16th rush defense for the Eagles, so Barkley's really going to have to carry if they're going to have success for New York. Daniel Jones cannot turn the ball over. He's going to have to make some plays. Really just about which offense can really get this done. And I'm going with the Eagles here. 23-17 is the score by 6. I think the Giants make it close, but I think the Eagles just find a way to get it done. They have to lead in this game, and I think the Eagles defense gets a final stop over Daniel Jones. And then next up, saving the best game for the last, once again, Sunday 5:30 on Fox, we have the heated rivalry between the team of the 80s versus the team of the 90s, the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers. This game is going to be close all the way. I think against the Buccaneers there was a chance where it could get a blowout on either side, but this one's going to be close all the way. It has to be. Dak Prescott, after a monster NFC wildcard game with 305 yards passing, 4 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, 24 yards rushing, incredible. His best game. But Dak is hot heading into this one, but he's gonna have to step up even more, because guess what? He's facing the number 1 defense in the NFL in the 49ers. A very tough challenge. It's gonna be hard to run the ball with Zeke. They're probably going to have to use Pollard, who has that extra burst and speed. Because Kenneth Walker for Seattle, he had that speed. He had some decent runs, so I think you should use Pollard if you're the Cowboys a little bit more. But Zeke, obviously, you're not the goal line, tough yardage. You need to pound him to use Zeke in that situation. But Dak off play action, would love to see that. See the 49ers get in to stop the run, then play action. Dak finds somebody. I would love to see him take some deep shots against this defense. You saw DK Metcalf had a couple of big games. You can throw downfield to CeeDee Lamb or Michael Gallup. That would be really great. No turnovers by Dak. Again, that's the key, and they might get this done. I think the Cowboys have a great chance to pull this one off. But Brock Purdy, You know, he cannot turn the ball over. Same thing for him. He didn't against the Seahawks, but that's a Seahawks. He needs to be safe with the ball. He had some inaccurate passes, and he needs to find his outlets and just stick to the game plan. You know, he has to be really accurate. He struggled with that in the first half, and you know, he has so many weapons: Debo, Kittle, Ayuk. You know, you have your running backs with McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell. So you have so many weapons. It's just a matter of being that game manager for Purdy. And the Cowboys defense on their end, they played amazing. They only pretty much allowed 6 points against Tom Brady. The 8 points were in garbage time, and they forced an interception too. They played strong coverage, great tackling to stop the running game. You know, same effort is needed here, but I think you really just have to go all out and stop that run no matter what. You're just going to have to go all out for it. You're going to have to put it in Purdy's hands, you know, before you rattle, so you can rattle him with some pressure from Parsons. That would be really great. Parsons can get quick off the edge, so I think that's possible. You get some pressure on Purdy, make him a little bit uncomfortable. You might be able to get those turnovers and then those extra possessions that Dak might need against this #1 defense. So the Cowboys have great numbers with turnovers and sacks, so it can be done. On the other hand, Nick Bosa and that 49ers defense, their pass rush is going to get there, needs to get there in time before Dak finds his target. You know, they need to get some pressure. If they get some turnovers, and I think, you know, it's a wrap for the 49ers. But I'm giving the Cowboys a great chance to do this, but I think it's just more likely that the Niners are going to pull this one out and win. You know, their defense is just so tough, you know. And, you know, without a decent running game by the Cowboys, their 49ers are going to be playing for the pass, and it's going to be tough for Dak at some point. But the Cowboys defense, you know, they have to guard so many weapons at the same time. You know, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey, Mitchell. You know, it's nothing like Tampa's. But, you know, if the Cowboys can get some pressure with Parsons and they get those turnovers that Dak might need, I think they could get those extra possessions and end up winning this game. I think Dak's going to play well, but is it going to be enough is the question. This is going to be a really great game. You know, to say the least. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, comment, and let me know your predictions. And I'll see you in the next one.